30 Odd Minutes is sponsored in part by Digital Dowsing. Who are you powered by?
For the next 30 minutes, we will explore the unexplained. From mysteries beyond our galaxy to ghostly phenomena in our own backyard. We will dive into our psychic abilities and explore everything from conspiracies to the just plain weird. Welcome to 30 Odd Minutes. If the truth is out there, we will find it. But only by sheer accident.
Hey! Welcome to 30 Odd Minutes. It's great to have you here aboard the mothership. We've set her to hover right here in the cloud bank.
Very nice day out there.
Beautiful out there. Gorgeous. So nice. It's heavenly.
Yes.
It's heavenly because we're going to be talking about reincarnation, more specifically animal reincarnation. And we've all lost pets, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Somewhere along the way. Matt, who did you lose?
I've lost dogs, cats, lizards, all kinds of animals.
Oh my God.
I lost a dog this August.
I know. I'm sorry. Oh.
Stuff happens.
Freak accident,
I've only
too.
ever had one pet, and it was a guinea pig, and it died in my arms, and it was very upsetting.
How old were you?
Let's see. I think I was maybe 16. It was my brother's guinea pig, but he's much younger, so I ended up taking care of it a lot more of the time.
We all know that story.
Yep.
For Christmas, let's get her a goldfish.
Oh, I can't take care of animals. I have the brown thumb version of animals.
I believe that's just... Well, that's horrible. Okay. I got
Don't
nothing.
give me any animals.
I got nothing. All right, so what's new?
All right, well, we have to say a big, huge hello to White Rose Community Television in York, Pennsylvania. Yay! Guys, we just want to let you know that late at night, we get cloaked and we kind of go around, peeking around through your windows, and we have to say you are way better looking in person than you are on TV, so keep it up.
Yeah.
Looking good.
Those people in New York are cute,
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. Absolutely. So I had a tragedy this week, a family tragedy. And Mambo, we have a picture. My parakeet of 10 years passed away this week, aged 10 years and a few months. And it's so funny. Birds have so much personality, and I've always been a bird lover. 10 years we had little Mambo, and he died. And it really got me thinking about, like, you know, what's next, you know? Will he come back? Our house is so quiet without him because you know you have 10 years of chortles and songs and things like that, and so you know it was a heavy blow. It was a heavy blow for sure, and it got me thinking about if he could come back. You know, would I recognize him? You know, he certainly had a distinct personality. He was my buddy. He would sit on my shoulder all day while I worked, and so I'm kind of looking forward to discussing this tonight because I'm going to miss my little buddy. And Dr. Dreck, of course. He thought a lot about animal communication and spirit communication and reincarnation, and this is what he had to say.
Greetings, Paws. Dr. Dreck here, and we're talking about animal reincarnation tonight. And I got somebody to introduce to you. This is my lab rat, Stu. Due to my genius, he's able to talk. What did you want to say, Stu?
Well, I just wanted to say that I am a reincarnation.
You're a reincarnation? Oh, who are you a reincarnation of?
I'm the reincarnation of Luciana Pavarotti. I'm Pavarotti.
Pavarotti, right. Yeah. Prove it, sing something. My God, this could be big money for me. I could write music for rats. I could write operettas. Yes, and like The Rodent of Seville or Aida, a whole lot of cheese. Keep singing, Stu. Keep singing. Booking agents, call me.
He's going to get himself in the same trouble that guy did with the singing frog.
That's pretty much true.
Yeah,
You mean Kermit?
No, you didn't. Oh, never mind. It's a Warner Brothers cartoon.
That poor guy. Thank you, Dr. Dreck. We appreciate it. All right, let's get into this topic here tonight. Reincarnation is a belief held by over 1 billion people worldwide. The idea is simple. The spirit of living things never die. They come back as something or someone different each time. So why wouldn't animals come back again and again? Tonight we're going to explore animal and pet reincarnation. Our guest tonight says her cat has come back to her. She's the author of the new book, Conscious Musings, a collection of contemplations about life and potentiality, and she's the host of the Conscious Inquiry radio show. Please welcome, beaming to us live from Massachusetts, Alexis Brooks.
Yeah.
Alexis, welcome to the mothership. How are you?
Well, thank you. It's good to be here. I'm great, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Here on the Mothership, we don't recognize time or space, but we're thankful that you're here aboard our spacecraft.
We celebrate everybody's holidays.
That's right.
Every day is a holiday.
Festivus every day for us.
Absolutely.
All right. Alexis and I met a few weeks ago at a Animals in the Afterlife conference, and I heard her speak, and I said, man, this would be a great topic for 30-odd minutes, and Alexis would be just the person to talk about this. Alexis, let's start, just as I heard your story, with your cat named Paws. Tell us about Paws, and we have a picture here.
Yeah. Well, it's a long story, so I think I'm going to begin at the end and tell you that we lost Paws after he was close to 15 years old. We lost him back in February of 2012, and when he passed, we were actually traveling. We were in Los Angeles. I was actually covering a metaphysical conference. And interestingly, while on that trip, I was interviewing Dr. Bruce Goldberg, who is a past life regressionist, serendipitously. And so obviously we left our cat to be boarded with our vet, thinking, he had been sick, but we certainly didn't think we would lose him. But the day before we were to fly back, we got a call from the veterinarian telling us that he wasn't doing well. And so I had, obviously devastated and 3,000 miles away, I had said a little prayer to Paws. And I said, listen, if you want to go, can you just give me a signal? Well, subsequently, the next day, we got a call back from the veterinarian who, in fact, told us that he was taking his last breath. And we were actually on the phone when it happened, when she was cradling him. So devastated, obviously. Never did I think that when we dropped him off to go to the airport, we'd never see him again. But it was at that time that I realized, shortly after we got off the phone, that I had a dream. And in the dream, I was here at our home, and I was walking around the house, and I could hear him meowing everywhere. And I'd look, and I'd say, Paws, Paws, are you there? And I couldn't find him. Well, I took that as a sign that he heard my request, and that was his signal to go. Fast forward, and this is a long story, but fast forward about 7 months, we had been looking at maybe getting another cat. Interestingly, I had had a dream about a year before Paws had passed. In the dream, Paws brought me a Himalayan brown and tan, blue-eyed cat named Perkins, very distinct. And so I filed that away, and when it came time to look for perhaps another cat, that was my, that's what I was looking for. Cut to the chase, I'd been perusing some cat breeders' websites and found a breeder that looked to be somebody that I'd want to deal with. And one day I was looking for a Himalayan, of course, and what did I find but a little kitty named Clover, and I think you may have an image of Clover as well, who's now named Clover Paws, who looked amazingly, as you can see, like Paws. Well, immediately I told my husband, I said, honey, you've got to see this. This is absolutely amazing. And we quickly said, let's call the breeder, let's get details. I did, and here's where it gets really interesting. Called the breeder. The cat was still available. He was actually at about 6 or 7 months at that point. And she was perplexed as to why no one had inquired about him. Nothing was wrong with him. And she proceeded to give me the details of this kitty. The first thing was he was the only male born in his litter. And I thought, that's interesting. Paws was the only male born in his litter. She said he had a little gray patch at the top of his head that was starting to fade. I said, Paws had a little gray patch on the top of his head that started to fade at about 9 months. And then the kicker, get ready everybody. She told me that Clover was born on February 18th. And I said, can you repeat that, please? She did. And actually, I'm sorry, that's wrong. He was born on February 17th. Paws died on February 18th. Literally, we figured hours overlapping from when one was born and one died. Mm-hmm. And at that point I said, okay, this is getting a little too strange for me, but something was going on. And so I told my husband. One thing led to another. He was the one that said, interestingly enough, this is Paws. I'm sure of it. And so we got the cat. We got the cat about a month later, brought him home, And me, obviously I'm an alternative researcher. I do all things paranormal, metaphysical, including reincarnation. But it never really occurred to me that this could be the case. He was the one that was really more, sure about the fact that this was Paws. So I didn't want to set myself up for disappointment. But we brought the cat home, and immediately, as soon as he came into the house, he went directly to Paws' favorite chair in the dining room. Well, needless to say, it's been about a year, almost to the day that we got this cat. He has exhibited not just some, but exactly the same qualities. He's a spitting image of him. He smells like him. He meows like him. He eats like him. And he feels like him. And I think that's the thing that maybe we'll talk about a little bit in terms of how do we know it's a reincarnation. But that's the very long story short.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And of course, we love our pets. Our pets are family to us. They're our companions. They don't talk back. For the most part, they're
unless they're a parrot.
Unless they're a parrot, train them to do so. But at the same time, so when you start recognizing behavior and things like that, and of course he looks. So we've seen the pictures. He looks just like the other cat. Both white Persian cats. What's the difference between looking at these signs and just kind of knowing in your heart? And we get that knowing in your heart is not something you can quantify to people. It's not something you can put in a beaker and say it's proof. It's just something that's in your heart. What's that moment like when you say, "Wow, this is big. This is beyond chance" to you personally?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, Jeff, that as a researcher in metaphysics, I have a predisposition to being open-minded. Excuse me, about all things. Excuse me, a little frog in my throat. But I'm very pragmatic, and I'll be honest with you. That left brain side of me is still saying, "Could it be?" I mean, this is really a magnanimous thing, and obviously you would need to be around. Well, actually, you may have seen the cat when we brought him to the presentation.
That's right, I did. But, I met Clover Paws.
Yeah. It's still one of those things that you ask, and I ask every day. Yes, he feels like Paws, but as a researcher and as somebody, I consider myself having a bit of an introspection, or I'm inquisitive, let's just say. Is reincarnation really what we think it is? Does it work in that linear way that we kind of think of? Reincarnation means we're looking at a past life, current life, and then on to a next life. Maybe it works a little bit differently. I don't know. I don't know if that's kind of a long answer to your question.
No,
but
understood.
It's a feeling. Now I've talked to several others, in my research who have had similar encounters, and they felt absolutely unequivocal that this was their reincarnated pet. I still have a little bit of a, hard to say.
Yeah. Well, here's a skeptical question for you. And we talked earlier about how people in relationships tend to be drawn to the same type of person again and again. Someone will date an abusive person, end that relationship, and get into another relationship with the same type of personality. And we're drawn to certain types of people. Are we also drawn to certain types of pets? I mean, I know my sister had this great dog, this big, dumb, fluffy, sweet as can be, a dog named Sam, and was such a great companion. And when he died, she tried to get another dog that was sweet and fluffy and dumb. There'll never be another Sam, and the next dog fell short for sure. But at the same time, are we drawn to similar personalities and even types of breeds as pets that we really adored? And could we mistake that?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and could we mistake that for maybe being the same soul in one animal or another?
Right.
Possibly, but here's what I would say to that. Here's an interesting little anecdote. One of the people that I interviewed for my presentation, who's an author as well, Anne Bollinger McQuaid, who wrote the book Everyday Oracles, who believes that she had the reincarnation of her dog twice, 3 incarnations. In the midst of her telling me the story, she said to me, I think it was a second incarnation she felt, she had gone to a breeder and told the breeder, look, I'm looking for the soul of my first dog. I believe he will come back, and possibly through you. And interestingly, the breeder said back to her, I'm not surprised that you are telling me this. I've been in this business a long time, and I see these interactions between humans and animals. And as much as we think we're going to to pick out a pet or find a pet that's exactly like what we had before. It's the pet that's choosing the owner. That was an interesting statement to me, which says that perhaps the animal, maybe there's even a contractual agreement prior to either of us coming into an incarnation that draws us together. So I don't know. I think there's another dynamic going on. Right. If that answers your question.
I find it really interesting that when you're talking about this and you're talking about your experience and your friend's experience with their dog, we don't talk about maybe humans coming back to us in our lives in the same way, because you can't. You're never going to have another mother or another brother or sister that are going to be replaced by, another, their soul goes into somebody else's body and that body comes into your life and now they've just replaced that person. It's just interesting that you can do that with pets, but not with humans.
But there's been a few interesting cases where people feel their child has come back. They've lost a child early in the child's life and had another child, and that kid has grown up to have memories of things that happened while the other child was alive. So there have been some convincing stories about children who died young being reincarnated to the same parents.
Or not only that, like in my own family, this is weird. My nephew, who's 4 years old, my sister was telling me that this was maybe 6 months to a year ago. He was naming cities in Italy and in France that he had never been to. The funny thing, my nephew is named after my maternal grandfather, who served in World War II and served in those cities. Mm-hmm. And that we don't talk about those cities. Yeah. We don't mention them. And so my sister was just like, what? And it wasn't just, Normandy was one of them, which is where he served. And so we all kind of scratched our heads saying, that's the namesake, is my nephew. And he's naming these cities that we don't talk about as a family, but it happened to be where my grandfather served. So we all scratch our heads and go, I don't know.
Maybe.
Now that being said, I was very close with my grandfather my whole life. My nephew definitely has a distinct personality that's all his own. And he's also 4. He's not old enough yet to have a full-blown, personality. Right. But it's curious. It is curious.
It is, but what I think is interesting is that with humans, and again, sure, you can have some traits and some past knowledge that is strange that you would have as, a young child that maybe has never been to those countries or whatever. But with animals, we look for, like in your case, you look for these physical traits. You look for this exact likeness of the pet that you had. And I wonder why that is. Is it because humans are more complex and harder to duplicate? And in that case, if that is the case, then how can you be so sure that, that animal that is coming into your life is a replication of the animal you lost, and it's not just another animal that looks like it and by the nature of animals acts like it?
Well, certainly you can't be sure. And a comment that I want to make in terms of physical appearance, my situation I think is pretty rare. And the people that I have talked to, including some folks that I have worked with in this field, they have said that this is a very anomalous situation, my situation. I have a case of a woman whom Dr. Goldberg actually worked with, who she believed had a German Shepherd. She previously had a St. Bernard, but she later acquired a German Shepherd puppy, and she believes that dog is the reincarnation of her Bonzo, her St. Bernard. So the criteria isn't always going to be the same in terms of physical characteristics. There were several areas that I looked at, as a matter of fact, in terms of delineating whether something is going on here. One can be physical characteristics in the case of my cat. Physical surroundings, again, familiarity with physical surroundings is definitely one factor. And I think the other is personality. So there are a number of criteria that we can kind of look at. Another thing that was very interesting for me in my own experience, as well as those that I interviewed, a common thread in these anomalous situations are dreams. In my case, I had several dreams. I don't know if we have time to go into the dream that I really feel was indicative of a message that something was going to happen, although I didn't realize it until later. But in the other 2 that I featured in my presentation, dreams were integral to the hint that this was actually going on or possibly going on.
Right. Alexis, stay with us. We got to take a break for the news. When we come back, let's talk about the nature of reincarnation. You know, what it means, who believes in it, and things like that, because there's a lot more to get to. Hold tight. We'll be back right after the news.
Two very interesting photographs taken in Washington State recently show what may be strong evidence for the existence of Sasquatch. The first picture was posted on Facebook by a man named Derek Randalls and shows what is reported to be a Bigfoot peering over a small ridge. The image is a single frame from a video shot with a FLIR camera. The video was taken on private property near Grays Harbor, where the owner claims his land is often visited by the large beast. Randall said that the model FLIR camera used to make the video shuts itself off automatically after only a few minutes of running time. This unfortunate feature of the camera prevented it from capturing the creature when it got up and walked away from the spot where it was crouching. The second picture was taken a few days later on Mount Rainier by Bigfoot enthusiast Jeff Stillman. Stillman's picture shows a large bare footprint in the snow that measures 16 inches long and 7 inches wide. Stillman has been in this area many times before looking into reports of sightings and says he believes he has been stalked by Bigfoot and had pine cones thrown at him one night while sitting by his campfire. He's lucky it was only pine cones. Apes have been known to fling worse stuff at people they don't like. I'm Andrew Lake, and oddly enough, that's the news.
All right, thank you, Andrew, for the news. We're back with Alexis Brooks. Her latest book is called Conscious Musings. Brand new book, and we're talking about reincarnation, specifically pet reincarnation. Let's talk about reincarnation in general, folks, because there's like a billion people on Earth that believe in this. The idea that when you die, you can come back, and if you look at the Buddhist belief, you could be upgraded to a higher being. You could be downgraded. You led a really bad life, you could come back as a bug. So of course we have to put animals into the mix, any living thing with a spirit, and so on. And so, but I think even a Buddhist will tell you don't retain every memory of your previous life. You don't retain. It's not like you just pick up. It's a spiritual retention, right? That's
your
spirit.
Higher self that evolves with each new experience. And and I think the idea is that there's certain key lessons that you need to learn in each lifetime. And if you happen to not learn them in this lifetime, you're going to keep coming back to that same type of situation. Your exact memories may not be the same, your exact experiences may not be the same, but the overall lesson that you should be learning in that lifetime will repeat and repeat until you learn it, and then you move on.
Right. And Matt, how many more times are you going to have to go through this life before you learn?
Oh.
So, I mean, reincarnation. Matt, we'll go down the line. Believe, disbelieve, what do you think?
Well, I definitely believe there's something to it. I mean, you go back to the books like Search for Bridie Murphy and stuff like that. I've seen a number of occasions where that has been the case, where doing investigations for ghosts and near-death experiences especially, there's a great deal of reports of people remembering their past lives when they crossed over and came back.
Right.
So, and then you've got past life regression and stuff like that. Now, my question is it just specifically to the animal kingdom? Can plants come back?
Whoa.
Are
Have you ever asked the plant, Alexis?
I think you made a very critical point. What we're talking about is the recycling, if you will, of the soul. And it's also called life force. And it is well known that life force, that consciousness, exists to varying degrees with all living things, including the rock and mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom, as well as the animal kingdom. So as much as that may seem kind of like a facetious question,
it wasn't.
Who knows?
No.
Dr. Cleve Baxter, who was renowned for testing the response of plants, he recently passed, and how they respond to our own emotions, revealed some absolutely fascinating statistics on how conscious these plants are. So why not? And there's another thing. You're talking about the Buddhist idea that reincarnation happens through cycles, not cycles, but that you progress with each successive incarnation. I think there are a lot of different takes on that. Again, reincarnation is the oldest philosophy known to man. I will say that. And in fact, it was said that Neanderthal man painted the bones of their dead the color red so that they could recognize, future incarnations. So it's certainly well known, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have over 7 billion people on this planet. These are 1 billion that are admitting that they feel some belief toward reincarnation. I have a feeling there are a lot more.
Can I interject a little fact?
Please.
The total number of people that are alive today equals all of the human race that's ever been born at this particular time.
So we're all back at once for a big party.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Wow.
This is it. This is the last round. Okay, Andrew, being a ghost guy, paranormal researcher, animal ghosts, pet ghosts.
Yeah.
You've encountered that, right?
Matter of fact, quite recently, a very good friend of mine, I've been looking into her house for 4.5 years, and she lost her beloved Bubella. And Bubella had passed, and not only is she...
Is Bubella some kind of breed that I'm just not aware of?
No, Bubella was just a big white cat, just a big white...
Right.
Just
that
a big
was
white,
the name, gotcha.
And Bubella had passed, and she was hearing subtle little sounds that Bubella would make in the house, and she was catching glimpses of something white going around corners. But what was more touching was she buried Bubella in the yard and made a really nice tombstone and painted Bubella's name on it with the date and so on and so forth. And Blackie, the younger male cat, really missed his buddy Bubella and was crying and looking for Bubella constantly. Blackie will not go outside. He is terrified of the outdoors. That cat, after Bubella died, was ripping its way through screens to go out in the rain to sit in front of Bubella's grave.
Wow. So,
and it was just absolutely amazing. So there's no doubt in my mind that Bubella was still around and Blackie was aware of her.
And consider this too. I mean, when it comes to reincarnation, I've always thought, at the very least, there's a saying in art, music, any of the arts. You stand on the shoulders of giants, right? You are the product of whatever artist inspired you. So, and they're a product of whatever artist inspired them. So, in some sense, who we are, our personalities today, are defined not just by our genetics and our parents, but our upbringing and the way our parents were raised and the way their parents were raised, and so on. And so there is this idea of reincarnation, these cycles of data, of information, of personality
collective
traits,
consciousness,
all of that stuff.
That's Akashic record.
That goes back for whatever label you want to put on it. At the very least, we are a product of everything that came before us, going back thousands and thousands of years. So if you don't want to buy into the spiritual idea that your soul leaves the body, maybe hangs out for a while before entering a new body or a different animal or different incarnation, then at the very least we are a product of all of those generations of people.
Sure.
And so why not animals? And like we said, animals are part of our family. So Alexis, your thoughts here. We only have a minute or so left. Reincarnation in general, are you more apt to buy into the concept now that I know you're an objective journalist and researcher, but now that you've gone through this experience, more apt to buy in?
I have always had a sense that there is some aspect of the soul that is never annihilated. So I've never been adverse to the idea of reincarnation. Frankly, in terms of animal reincarnation, I never really thought about it until I had this experience. But certainly, whenever you go through something experiential, it's more than just doing the research. It causes you to question and want to explore more. And this certainly was impetus for me to do just that.
Right, and I understand, and it's a great topic. It makes you think. Like I said, I lost a pet this week, and we've all lost pets in somewhere along the way. I know, thank you. But we hold on to our happy memories. We had a wonderful burial ceremony for him, and I know we'll get another bird. We're bird people. What can I say?
And guess what? Souls travel together. As far as if you believe in that, souls travel together in paths.
I think they do. I would agree with that. Absolutely, I do.
Here's hoping little Mambo's back in some way, shape, or form. But he'll always shape our family, who we are, and that's how it goes. Aww. Folks, we're out of time. This is it. Alexis, thank you for joining us. We'll have links to your website from ours. Appreciate it. The name of the book, Conscious Musings. And we'll also listen out for your radio show. Until next time, everybody, stay odd.
Thank you.